Welcome into Fully Fashioned. I'm Jake Schrantz.
And I'm Ariana Joy Cobler.
And this is a new podcast where we'll be combining our interests. Ariana, what are some of the things you're into here?
So I'm primarily interested in some fashion and editorial pieces, primarily on the entertainment side.
And then I'm bringing kind of that sports aspect and the way that sports and sports fashion has really blown up over the past few years. So we're really excited to do this with you guys.
Yeah, it's a very unlikely duo, but through this podcast, it's going to be a little bit of entertainment, just a little bit of everything, and showcasing how fashion and sports kind of intertwine throughout everything. There's a lot more to it than just the surface level. So that's something that we are going to be able to showcase through this podcast. So a little bit about me. I am Ariana Joy Cobler again. So I am primarily a journalism and broadcasting major here at the University of Nebraska. Both of us are from the University of Nebraska. And on the side, and as my minor, I do primarily dabble in fashion apparel design. So that's what I am studying, which is really cool because it does pertain a lot to this particular podcast. And I kind of am able to showcase a lot of the things that I've learned within those classes that I'm currently taking. And then on top of that, it is just a hobby that I have. So yeah, a little bit about you and what you kind of bring to this podcast, Jake.
Yeah, so I am Jake Schrantz. I'm a sophomore at UNL, sports media and broadcasting major. So I'm really into sports and broadcasting and the way we kind of consume sports in the media. I do a lot of broadcasting for sports, play-by-play, that type of stuff. But I'm pretty interested to get into this new kind of thing for me especially. I don't have too much background in the fashion world, but it should be kind of fun to see what we can combine to do. And I think we have a pretty interesting start to the show for you guys.
Yeah, and on top of that, both of us are just spectators, which is kind of being a new dynamic to something like this because we're coming in as just consumers of that content. We're not necessarily experts by any means, but that does kind of have an extra layer because we're going to be able to give feedback and get that criticism from like other fashion designers and Sports Illustrated and things like that along with the fashion world. Because again, we're going in with like a critical eye. So that's kind of something else that we bring to it.
Yeah, we're by no means experts in this field. Like Ariana said, we're consumers. So don't expect, especially from me, don't expect amazing breakdowns of this. I'm kind of new to this field, so I'm excited to give my takes as someone who's just learning it. And I hope if anyone's watching or listening along who is also kind of new to this space, you can learn right along with me.
Yeah, and I mean, fashion is everywhere. It's constantly around us, especially coming into college. We kind of see a wide variety, and especially within entertainment and sports. So what are some things that you consider your fashion eye and things like that, Jake?
I would say some of my favorite things about fashion are when people don't follow specific trends super closely. I know it's pretty popular to go with what everyone else is wearing, maybe a certain shoe or a certain style of pants or something. But I like when people wear what they want to wear, what they're comfortable in, and don't really go for what people tell them to wear, and they're like, no, I'm going to go to the store. I like how this looks. This is my style. It's not anyone else's, because in the end, we are all individuals who like to wear what we like to wear. So I would say that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, going off of that, I really think that the reason why I am so appealed to fashion is because it really allows people to have a way of expressing themselves without actually saying anything, especially now more than ever. People are just trying to find ways to express themselves. And we've seen it multiple ways throughout social media, throughout like being a sports person and just showcasing who you are as an individual through your clothing is something that really has been a part of like the human interest for such a long time. There's been fashion shows for generations, and we've kind of seen like a variation of different fashion influences throughout our life. And I think now more than ever, with how fast paced like the news is and how fast paced entertainment is, with social media and how we consume it, it's really easy for people to kind of get consumed in those trends. So I think it's very cool when people are able to kind of choose their own individuality with fashion. And we see it with sports now too. We have people like Russell Westbrook, who constantly is changing the game. He is always continually making sure that fashion is one of the leading roles in that he plays. It's something that literally has become part of his personality, and I feel like he is probably one of the leading people who kind of pushed fashion into the sports, which is something that's very cool because I feel like there should be more in it in sports because, I mean, we think about like basic brands and most of them have started in athletic clothing. So it's pretty cool to see that parallel.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways that athletics and sports and fashion can bring benefits, not just to the people who are following these famous superstar athletes, but also to the athletes themselves with branding and different sponsorships and different brand deals. I know Russell Westbrook has a few different ones outside of even just with Jordan Brand for his signature shoes. They have, I know he wears a bunch of different suits to certain events that he wears a certain brand. Obviously, those walk-ins to the different games are huge now on social media where everyone wants to see who their favorite athlete is or how they come in, what they're wearing. So it's a lot of different avenues.
Yeah, it's super cool to see all those parallels. So what we're bringing to this show is, again, a little bit of a unique perspective just because there's a bunch of different avenues we can go this way. So each week, each podcast episode is going to be a little bit different, which is kind of cool because that gives us a little bit of creative freedom. Today, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the Met, which is pretty cool.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so essentially, when we are talking about certain parts of the show, obviously me and Jake are going to show our opinion. So obviously everything is not factual based. It's just going to be our opinions based on the things that we see as consumers, which is a little bit entertaining because we're going to be thinking and saying things that you guys are thinking and saying, which is pretty cool.
And feel free if you completely disagree with something we say, go ahead and leave it in the comments or just leave it for us. Make sure your opinion is shared as well. We're not the only opinion in this fashion space. Obviously, everyone can have their own opinion. So really excited to hear from you guys.
Exactly. And we're just going to be utilizing each other's strengths, mine in that fashion background with all of the key terms and things like that, and Jake mostly on the sports side explaining context of who these people are and things like that. So it's pretty cool. But it is even more beneficial because it's kind of having a unique set of eyes, and we'll kind of be able to separate and bring each other together at the same time, which is a unique perspective. So each week we're basically going to be highlighting different things that we see that might catch our attention just as viewers, as consumers of that media. So that could be anywhere from a live stream, a special appearance. One of my favorites is like whenever a celebrity shows up at a basketball game. I love when I see what they wear because it's mostly just chill, low-key, street style type things, which is all of what I'm about. Yeah, so there's going to be numerous different things that we can talk about. We just had the draft happen. There was a bunch of different people and all of their different silhouettes and things like that. So again, today we're going to be primarily focusing on the Met because there's both sports and entertainment, as well as singing and other types of celebrities there. And it is one of the major fashion events of the year. So we're going to be primarily diving into that.
One of my favorite segments that we're going to have on this show every time is something we're going to call On the Feed, which is pretty much what it sounds like. We're going to be covering things that we see on our Twitter timeline or on our Instagram feed or whatever on social media. We're always sending pictures back and forth, just like things to look at or like, wow, look at what happened here. So it's going to be kind of funny and exciting to go through that from in between the last episode and when we record the next one and see what were some of the crazy things in fashion and in sports that we saw on our social media feeds, and we'll kind of give our takes and our opinions on what happened recently.
Yeah, and along with that, something that I'm really intrigued about is learning a little bit about sports. We will have a segment that's all about the sports fashion industry and kind of all of those type of events. So that will be primarily taken over by Jake, but that is something that we will be covering heavily on this podcast. So if you have any interest in, let's say, shoe apparel, we'll definitely dive into that because that is a huge thing with sports. So my favorite thing about those type of segments is just learning more and being able to learn along with podcasts. So if you are a viewer and you're just trying to learn alongside us, then that is something that you will definitely get from one of those segments.
Yeah, and I almost picture that one kind of how I'm the rookie in a lot of these fashion sections that we'll be going into. You'll have a chance to kind of learn from me in those other ones. Obviously, you have a pretty solid baseline knowledge of sports, but it'll just be interesting to get your perspective on some of these sporting events. Like we'll cover like the NFL draft, like you mentioned earlier, and some other ones coming up.
Yeah, and of course, you can't forget about those fashion dotes, right? There's always going to be those people at those events where we just are in awe of, like, why did they wear that? So, of course, we're going to be taking those into account. We're going to be showing you guys our opinions, deep diving into what it is actually like to be a celebrity and wearing those clothing. We're actually going to have a lot of guest speakers throughout the podcast, too, showing their opinions and explaining what it is like to be an athlete now with all these brands asking and constantly nagging them to basically be sponsored athletes. So we'll kind of be able to dive into that as well as like other celebrities who are faced with that similar situation.
And speaking of guest speakers, we are definitely planning on interviewing a lot of guests during these shows. We have a guest actually lined up for our first kind of actual episode, this one being kind of the pilot intro one. I'm excited to talk to her. She's got a ton of interesting stuff in her background in sports and fashion. I think it should be a great interview coming up.
Yeah, actually, the one coming up is going to be a fashion sports stylist, which is pretty cool, based out of California. So we'll definitely be able to go very broad. All of the guests that we're going to have are either going to be experts in a specific field or someone studying that field. And then on top of that, we'll also have people, just peers alongside us who we feel have some kind of unique style that could bring a perspective that we personally do not have between the two of us. So essentially, we're going to be getting a bunch of different perspectives from all cylinders, which is really cool and, again, unique to this particular podcast. As we've been talking about throughout the podcast, we are going to be highlighting that Met Gala that happened yesterday. There's a lot of interesting things that happened. We watched it for about an hour and a half, and honestly, we did not get very far after that. But again, we just love the fashion. We love seeing all the different people. So, Jake, do you have any specific things that you loved about the Met Gala?
Well, I'm kind of new to the whole Met Gala space, I would say. I know it goes on every single year. I've never been a super massive fan tuning in every single year, but it was really interesting to me as a new consumer to see all the different types of people who show up to this. We had some people we were hoping would show up but didn't this year. I know a few. I think Zendaya didn't make an appearance this year.
Yeah, to me, honestly, I feel like there's a lot of people who just don't go to these things anymore, and that just happened with COVID. Zendaya, the last time she even went to anything like the Met Gala was in 2019. So I really hope in the future that there's more people. They definitely did a good job of just getting people there. There's a lot of people who had their first ever Met Gala appearance, which again was really cool because those are people with new ideas, new perspectives. So yeah.
But I would definitely say of the people who were there, like you mentioned, there was a great mix of different types of personalities and reasons for celebrity who were there. We saw a ton of athletes, a bunch of people in music, film, even just general supermodel level people. So it was really cool to see all of these different types of personalities and just people mixed together and see how they interact. on the red carpet, if you will. So that was something as a new consumer I was really enjoying.
Yeah, making sure that people are just engaged with the audience. I'm a little bit surprised by the people that they chose to host for the
Yeah.
Vogue. We watched it on the live stream with Vogue on YouTube, and it was pretty good for the most part. Obviously, there was a little bit of kinks, but I don't know. I just feel like they could have done a lot better. As for the celebrities and them showcasing the artists as well as the fashion designers and things like that, they did a really good job. There was a few that I feel like didn't know enough about the garments they were wearing or like the jewelry they were wearing, because that is a big part of the Met, is just knowing what you're wearing and being able to convey that in interviews.
Yeah, explain to those who might be at home who don't understand that aspect of it. Explain what they're doing when they ask, "Who are you wearing tonight?" And the significance of that part of the Met Gala.
Yeah. So essentially, the Met Gala is not about the celebrities. It has nothing to do with the celebrities, other than them just attending. Most of the Met Gala is meant for the fashion designers to be able to bring new ideas into the fashion industry and explore new ways, which is why they kind of have a theme. This year's theme was Karl Lagerfeld, and just showcasing his brand. It was called A Line of Beauty, which is something a little bit unique to the Met Gala because it wasn't really narrowed down before, and now it has been. They were very on theme this year, which is very good. In the past, they've had problems with that. But when it comes to people being interviewed and being asked what they're wearing, who they're wearing, it's very important because this is sometimes fashion designers' first time being in a creative space where they're not tied down by their own personal brand. So it's really important just to know all of the stuff that they're wearing, because 9 times out of 10, if they do not pronounce a name right or they don't say a perfect thing right, they either, one, lose their endorsement or they get in really big trouble with their PR team. So that's just some things on the back burner that celebrities need to kind of remember when they're on the red carpet, which is why there's so many interviews at the Met where they're asking if they're nervous or something like that. And 9 times out of 10, the celebrities are like, yes, I am 100% nervous.
Yeah, we saw yesterday there was a clip of Cardi B, I think, talking, was it with Emma Chamberlain or something? And she was talking about how she might not even attend next year just because of the pressure of showing up with a cool outfit and doing everything right when you need to. Because I definitely agree. I would imagine, I mean, a lot of these celebrities, they're not fashion experts either. They're known for other things outside of just cool clothes. So for them to come in and have to bring that aspect as well, I would imagine it would be pretty difficult. I feel like if I had to go onto the red carpet and name all these different things off, I'd probably struggle a little bit.
Yeah. So we as a team, we're kind of brainstorming good ideas on how to kind of be able to showcase all the different walkthroughs, all the different like celebrities in general. So we kind of decided to blend both of our ideas because I wanted to showcase the people and what they were wearing and things like that. So this is our unique perspective and our unique idea. Jake, do you kind of want to explain what we did?
So it's time in the show, our pilot episode here on Fully Fashioned. It's time for Met Madness.
Hello, friends. Jim Nance.
Met Madness, if you don't know, we're taking this because of our sports and fashion interest. Basically, it's going to be like March Madness. We're doing a bracket here, 1 through 16 seeds, randomly assigned. We don't have a bias toward the 1 seed or the 16 seed or anything. We just randomly assigned who would be there. And let me actually pull that up for you guys right now. All right, so we have our official Met Madness bracket right here. Obviously, you guys probably can't read that text, but we have 1-seeded Patrick Mahomes versus number 16 seed Ice Spice. Big matchup there. 2 of the most famous celebrities in our time in their own field. Patrick Mahomes, obviously reigning Super Bowl champion right now. Ice Spice, one of the biggest music artists in the world, at least in America right now, but probably all over the world. Then we move down. We have an 8-9 matchup between Jared Leto, who had a big-time night at the Met Gala. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Jared Leto decided to make an appearance at the Met Gala in a cat suit, which essentially is in, what is it called? It's
Paying homage.
Yes, he's basically paying homage to Karl Lagerfeld's cat. Weirdly enough, it is on theme because Karl Lagerfeld actually had a very deeply devoted relationship with his cat. So surprisingly, there was quite a few people that had cat references.
Yeah, we'll get to one of them down at the bottom of our bracket as well.
Yeah, but my absolute favorite part of the Met Gala is they're not even on this list, but it's just so funny to me because they were having an interview and Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Nick Jonas, they came on air. Honestly, they did not seem right in the head. They were definitely a little bit tipsy when they came on to the red carpet, but they were having an interview with Vogue. And I don't know, Jake, what do you think about this and what did they say?
So basically, Nick Jonas had the highlight of the night for me when he looked at Jared Leto and said, I guess Jared Leto came as a furry, so that's great.
It was absolutely remarkable.
Was so funny.
I know that Nick Jonas's PR team is absolutely quaking right now, but it was definitely one of the funniest moments within the Met, and it was just funny.
And then we have the 9 seed going against Jared Leto in that cat suit. We have Anok Yai, I believe is how you pronounce her name. Ariana, do you want to speak a little bit about her?
Okay, yeah, she was probably my number one pick. She was absolutely gorgeous. I loved everything that she was wearing. But obviously, we'll get more into it as we get through this bracket.
Yep. And then we have our 4 versus 13 seed, Penelope Cruz, who really stood out to me. I thought she looked pretty cool, versus 13 seed Anne Hathaway.
Oh, my goodness.
Pretty good battle here.
That
this one's
is
going to be
a
tough.
super good battle. I think that that's probably going to be the hardest one we have. I don't know. Penelope Cruz is probably up there for me as well as Anne Hathaway. So that one's going to be a hard one.
Yep. 5-12 matchup, Russell Westbrook and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 2 NBA players who really stood out at the Met Gala last night as we're recording this today. Next up, we have here Stefon Diggs of my Buffalo Bills, let's go, against 15 seed Jenna Ortega. That one is going to be a tough one to kind of go through. Obviously, I've got the bias for Stefon Diggs, but Jenna Ortega, she was looking pretty cool yesterday.
Yeah, and then up next, we do have my personal favorite, Emma Chamberlain versus Bad Bunny, who actually did super well. Both of these people did very well, but I don't know. This is also going to be a pretty hard one for me, considering they both pretty much showed up. Yep. And yeah.
3 seed Sydney Sweeney versus 14 seed Jeremy Pope, who might have stolen the entire show yesterday with his outfit. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh my goodness. He absolutely killed it. Talk about being on theme. He was definitely on theme.
He was the theme.
He definitely made it known what the theme was. So I don't know. I feel like this one's going to be also a pretty hard one, considering Sydney Sweeney kind of had her own little twist to it. But with being such a prominent actor right now, she definitely had a lot of eyes on her.
And I believe this was her first Met Gala,
Yes, this
right?
was her debut. Almost everyone on this list had their, not everyone on this list, but there was quite a few that had their debut. So we'll be able to like dive deeper into that as well.
Then our final matchup in the first round, we have 6-seeded Doja Cat versus 11-seeded Lil Nas X. 2 of the most unique outfits that we saw during the Met Gala. Doja Cat obviously was very interesting. She had cat ears.
Oh my
She kept
gosh.
meowing everywhere. The whole interview with Emma Chamberlain, I don't even think she said a word.
Oh my God. I feel like she made Emma very uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie, but I feel like that's kind of her deal. Like she wants to make people uncomfortable and kind of start that conversation, which is pretty unique for such a prominent celebrity. Mm-hmm. She really made a statement.
And then we have Lil Nas X, who showed up. And I mean, for the time when he was coming down kind of the entranceway there, he really stood out. I mean, he had sparkles all over his entire body.
Oh my
I think he had
gosh.
just like a pair of basically like sparkly, like silvery underwear on, and that was pretty much it. He was showing off his body in pretty impressive fashion, I would
Well,
say.
yeah, especially if you have a body like that, you want someone to look, and that's exactly what he did. I don't think I would personally be able to do that, and I like commend him for that, and he was very brave.
All right, well, let's get into the first round action in Met Madness. So we'll start with the 1 seed and the 16 seed, Pat Mahomes and Ice Spice. Ariana, do you have any kind of ways you're leaning toward here?
I mean, Pat Mahomes definitely had a classic. One thing I did love is that he wore a V-neck, which is something I wouldn't expect from him. I don't know. I feel like having a double-breasted suit like this is also pretty cool. He definitely pays homage to Karl Lagerfeld just by doing the black and white classic silhouette. But I definitely think the number one thing that he had going for him were his shoes. Do you see the bedazzlement on his shoes?
I was going to mention that. But Ice Spice didn't come to play either. She was here, and I think for her first time at the Met Gala, I liked bringing the camera. I thought that was a pretty unique thing that she brought to the table. I thought her hair looked pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So what would you think about that?
I definitely think this was something that was very unique for her. I don't know if you guys know, but she did get endorsed by the Met Gala. She did almost all the promotion for them, which is pretty cool.
For Skims, right?
No, I think she did it for eBay, but it was pretty cool that she was able to do that. But as she was coming in, she was one of the first people because of that endorsement, which is, again, super unique and something that she should be very proud of herself for going from like such a street style to something as high end as the Met Gala. Her hair is probably the one thing that I was super surprised about, because her iconic thing is having that orange afro, and to come out with this bob of straight orange long hair is something that's so cool.
Yeah, she does that a little bit, but I feel like it definitely works. I think her usual kind of regular orange afro would have worked here, but I almost think because of that sponsorship and the way that she was able to kind of carry the flag for the Met Gala, she was one of the first celebrities they really talked to. I almost want to give the 16 seed the upset here and move Ice Spice on to the next round.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea. Ice Spice really did a lot. I'm very proud of how much she has come in the last year.
All right, so Ice Spice going to take the round 1 victory over Patrick Mahomes. A rare 16 over a 1. Next up, we're going to go to the 8 seed, 9 seed matchup, Jared Leto and Anok Yai. I think this one's pretty much chalk. It's an upset pick. I'm going for Anok here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back into Jared Leto. He absolutely killed the game. We were trying to decipher who this person was for the first like 5-10 minutes that he was on.
It reminded me of The Masked Singer a little bit, the way that he was coming through, and everyone was like, who is that?
Yeah.
Because it was such a big costume that it could have been anyone under there.
I full on thought that it was like a mascot of the Met that was just like rolling on through. It was
He
cool.
pretty much was.
I mean, it definitely made a statement. My big question was how he was able to keep his makeup from getting in the way and getting smeared. That was absolutely top tier, because I can barely even do that when I'm taking a sweater off.
So who are you going for Jared here? Do we have to go to the coin flip for this 8-9?
Anok is absolutely stunning, though. She literally...
You mentioned it was maybe your favorite outfit.
Oh, my God. She was absolutely my favorite, though. Like, really, the only thing setting them apart is just having presence. I do think that Jared definitely trumps her on presence, just because Anok was one of the first people who arrived, and... I mean, she looked like an absolute dream. She looked like a chandelier. And it's something I never have seen before. And that mesh train is absolutely gorgeous.
I want to give the win here to Anok, because I feel like anybody could have worn that suit that Jared Leto was wearing.
Yeah.
And gotten the makeup, but not everyone could pull off what she was bringing to the table.
Yeah,
so I almost feel like that gives her the slight edge in a very contested matchup here.
I think so too, especially with all her little details. She went with like a mesh glasses kind of thing that served as a hat. I think it is going to be Anok for this one, just because I don't know, her presence was everything. She looked like an absolute dream. I don't know how she was able to sit down in that dress later.
She probably had to change, I would guess.
I don't know how she would be able to sit down, but I think Anok Yai wins.
All right. So 2 upsets to start off. We have Anok moving on and Ice Spice taking down Patrick Mahomes in their round 1 matchups. Let's move on to 4 versus 13, Penelope Cruz and Hathaway. Another barn burner.
No. Okay, so let's start off with one of my personal favorites, Anne Hathaway. She absolutely killed it. She had absolutely the stage was absolutely on their knees when she came. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. She had a lot of like details within her dress, and within the interview that they had with her, she kind of explains what each of the details are. And she was the only celebrity that came with a vintage hairpiece, which, I mean, that's something that sets her apart. And she had a lot of like different homages. She had the tweed, she had the roses, she even had the individual bracelets and things like that that paid homage to both Karl Lagerfeld and the brand that she was there representing, which again is something that we should account for.
Yeah, looking at Penelope and Anne Hathaway here, both of them kind of went for that white dress look. Obviously, Anne Hathaway had a little bit more color. She had that kind of, is that gold or is that just openings on her dress? It looks like maybe some gold and some pearls, which I know they were mentioning a lot yesterday. I don't know too much of the history with the pearls, but it seemed like that was something a lot of them were hammering
that
down.
is something that Karl Lagerfeld definitely included a lot in his brand, which is why you see that repeatedly throughout the Met Gala. And along with that classic black and white silhouette, Karl Lagerfeld definitely influenced a lot of like the tailored suit look and like the classic black and white tuxedo suit with the collar. So you'll be able to see a lot of that throughout this.
I think we're going to have to give it to Anne Hathaway here.
I don't know. We barely talked about Penelope Cruz.
I like her, the little headpiece that she had on.
Yeah.
It was like almost like a marriage veil.
I think, well, that also sets her apart too, is because Karl Lagerfeld definitely had a prominent wedding venue and gown, like fashion designing expertise. So a lot of his fashion shows end within a wedding piece such as this. So a lot of the people have gowns, but her headpiece is super cool because it's actually attached to the dress.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that bling is so cool. Not many people actually came in silver, which is pretty cool. A lot of people came in gold and pearls. I don't know. I do think that for the most part, I feel like Anne definitely showcases a lot more of the technical abilities, whereas this one is just a white dress with embellishments. Mm-hmm. So I think I have to give this one to Anne.
Yeah, so 3 straight upsets. Obviously, we mentioned earlier, random seeding, so there really is no upset here, but it is kind of funny to see a 16, a 9, and a 13 all move on in the first round. Let's move on to 5-12, one of the most classic upset picks in all of March Madness, but will it happen here in Met Madness between 5-seeded Russell Westbrook and 12-seeded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yeah, I'd like to start with Russell Westbrook. He looked really cool. He was one of the few people that played with pattern and color. Obviously, Karl Lagerfeld had a very classic black and white silhouette, but it did make me feel and want that color. So him to come in with this blue-green pantsuit type thing.
The pants are really cool.
Oh my God, those are cool. And I don't know, something about an athlete in basically ballerina shoes is so funny to me. But he looks super cool. He pays homage by wearing those pearls, which is super classic. And yet he makes it his own by kind of doing it like a choker style, which is something that's unique. What do you think?
I think Russell's cool. I like the jacket. I think it obviously fits him very well. I think the shoes look cool. I think it makes him almost like a slim a slimmer fit for the whole outfit. I think if he was wearing some chunky shoes, it would have looked a little bit off-putting, but I like the whole combo. But I have to say, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander takes this one for me. He
Yes.
looks
Oh my
so cool.
gosh.
I think the sunglasses and the hair are
He
probably
looks
my
so
favorite
cool.
thing, but those super high-waisted pants, the bow tie, I mean, this just screams like boss mode right here.
Yes, and especially that double jacket. I've never seen a double jacket like this before. And for some reason, the two different textures and the two different patterns really play well because it is that black and white classic silhouette that Karl Lagerfeld has done before. And it essentially does pay homage. He has a couple of pearls in there. He is really doing a lot, and in such like an undertone way because it's so like simple, yet having all those different kind of patterns and the like little details that are unique really put him over the top. So I really think we should give it a SGA here.
Do you think that athletes tend to be kind of the best models for a lot of these fancy clothing? They have unique proportions to them, but a lot of the times I feel like that lends well toward making these clothing and all the different outfits look pretty good.
Yeah, I would say athletes do have a unique body size. Sometimes that can be even harder to fit them. But when a fashion designer is able to fit a garment on them properly, it looks really well because they have such defined muscles most of the time, which is why when you do see like fashion models on the runway, whenever it's a male, it's usually pretty like stern and straight cut. Whereas with women, they're more curvy and things like that. So whenever there are like taller, masculine, muscly man on the runways, they usually are fit pretty well within those garments.
Interesting. So SGA takes the W over Russell Westbrook here. He's moving on to take on Anne Hathaway in the next round. Let's move on to the bottom half of our Met Madness bracket here. 2 seed Stefon Diggs, 15 seed Jenna Ortega.
Okay, I'd like to start with Stefon Diggs. He is absolutely going for it. I love this tweed suit that he has going on, but it's like in a unique pattern, just because it's in this like almost feather gray. It's kind of giving the same vibe as like a pajama pant, but like in a suit form, which is pretty cool. I don't know what is hanging out of his pocket, but those pearls are pretty cool. Again, paying homage. But I don't know, something about it other than, obviously it's a patterned suit, but other than that, it doesn't really do much for me. I do think that having such a high neck collar like that is pretty cool too. But again, it's just a classic suit. Although it does pay really good homage to the theme, it doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, I feel like he could have gone a little bit more aggressive for this type of occasion. This is the type of suit that for someone who is as fashionable as I know Stefon Diggs is, I mean, he could wear this to like just a cool night out with the team for like a team dinner, and he wouldn't stand out that much. I mean, most of the suit, I mean, the pattern would stand out, but it's a pretty calm suit compared to what we've seen a lot of other people wear at the Met Gala. I mean, it's a lot more calm than a cat suit or something else like Lil Nas X, like we'll talk about in a minute here. But Jenna Ortega, I think, went for it in a way that Stefon Diggs really kind of didn't as much with this kind of interesting, it's almost like a dress, but also it's like got sleeves and it almost looks like a jacket on the top. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is really, really cool. She has a lot of embellishments. It's kind of giving pirate, which is pretty fun. It's like if Wednesday Addams were a pirate, that's what I kind of feel when I see this picture. But she has a laced-up corset over a button-up white shirt. Again, having that homage to Karl Lagerfeld. I do love the embellishment with the bow as her tie. That is super cool. That tiny little jacket with the kind of frayed sleeves and the thumb holes are super cool. Something that just a little bit of detail, it really does a lot for this piece. And then can we talk about this huge long train, and it's all fluffy and there's a bunch of different textures, a bunch of different pearls. All the gold accents are super cool.
And look at the shoes.
Oh my goodness.
She's got probably 4 or 5 inches added on her from these shoes.
I think that's a plus, and they're just really cool, and it really fits her character and her personality. I feel like ever since she was Wednesday Addams, she's just embodied that entire personality. So it's kind of cool to see her come out in this silhouette. So I definitely think that she won this for me.
I agree. I think she went for it more than Stefon Diggs did. It hurts my heart to send my Buffalo Bill home, but Jenna Ortega came and dropped an absolute dime here, and she's moving on. She is going to take on the winner of our next matchup, 7-seed Emma Chamberlain, 10-seeded Bad Bunny. Who do you think has got this one?
I don't know. I feel like Bad Bunny really showed out here. He came in this beautiful white silhouette, and I don't know. Other than it being a suit, really the only thing that sets it apart is having this kind of train scarf thing, which, I mean, is embellished with a bunch of roses, which is something that Karl Lagerfeld has done. Also, I didn't realize until just now that he did get chrome nails, which are pretty cool. But, I mean, other than it being a white suit, that's what it is.
I almost want to give Emma Chamberlain the advantage here just because she did so many, well, not really so many, but she made an outfit change during the event, and she also was like hosting the event for Vogue, doing those interviews. Probably the best interviewer, I would say, out of all of them on Vogue that we were watching yesterday. And I think this blue outfit that we're examining here that she started off with, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, she basically came with this blue silhouette, which is the one that we are pretty much judging here, but she did change into a similar silhouette, which is a black and white one without the undershirt. And essentially it is basically the same thing, but this blue silhouette that she has going for her right now, she kind of pays a lot of homages to like Chanel type, Karl Lagerfeld type things. So
I think her and Sydney Sweeney were both wearing Miu Miu.
yes, they are both wearing Miu Miu, and Miu Miu is a very new and upcoming like brand. It's really set for those younger generations like Sydney Sweeney and Emma Chamberlain. But showcasing like the headband and just like the structured suit and all of that pays a lot of homage to the classic silhouette, but I do like that she did add a bit of color. She was one of the few people that added color to her silhouette when she was on the carpet. Almost everyone else went with the classic black and white, which although that works, it kind of was overkill for me. I was kind of craving that color. And I mean, look at that embellishment that was on the underneath. It was kind of cool. Something that is very unlike for her. She usually doesn't go for shiny, but it really works. And my favorite thing that she has on her right now is pairing a sock with a 6-inch heel. That is absolutely crazy. And I don't know. I feel like it works for her style. She is the vintage queen. She absolutely loves to go thrifting and things like that. So pairing a dad sock with a 6-inch heel is something that is totally on brand for her.
I think we're going to move Emma Chamberlain on to the next round. She'll be taking on Jenna Ortega, which I believe Emma Chamberlain is the only pick so far by us that is not an upset in our Met Madness bracket. The 7-seed moving on over the 10-seed Bad Bunny. Next, we have 3-seed Sydney Sweeney and 14 Jeremy Pope. This one is kind of an interesting one as we have two very different kind of outcomes here. Obviously, Jeremy Pope, maybe outside of Jared Leto, the most aggressive outfit out here, whereas I feel like Sydney Sweeney, similar to Stefon Diggs, kind of went a little bit light on her first time through here.
Yes, Sydney Sweeney was definitely a little bit lighter, a little bit that sweet girl next door type vibe, because that's kind of like the type of personality she is. But she did have her debut at the Met Gala, so I feel like that kind of set her apart. She is one of the few people that came in color, again, in Miu Miu, just like Emma Chamberlain. I don't know. I feel like overall she had a pretty good dress. The one thing I did not like were all these like random placed black bows all over the back and the front. She said it was her favorite part of the dress. personally, I don't think it worked. I feel like it was it was not represented well. I don't know. I feel like her dress also could have used the steam before going onto the red carpet. But for the most part, she did really good. She looked amazing in this dress. But for the most part, I think that it's kind of just a dress that she happens to be wearing. She's kind of, the dress is wearing her. She's not wearing the dress, if that makes sense.
I think, Jeremy Pope, he literally was the theme of the night, just wearing the designer that they were honoring through the entire Met Gala. Everyone was singing their praises for him. So to wear an outfit that literally had him on it, I think is enough to at least move him through the first round.
I think he deserves it. If you don't know what the theme is, just look at his outfit because you will definitely understand it then.
Yeah, it's got the designer on this kind of white trailing.
It looks like a 12-feet trail.
Yeah,
like it's
pretty
crazy.
Interesting. So 14 seed Jeremy Pope moving on over Sydney Sweeney. Next up, very interesting matchup. Doja Cat, Lil Nas X, the winner of one of the more outlandish and outgoing outfits of the night coming out of this one.
Oh my goodness. Again, we did not set that up. We were absolutely just in awe when we found out what the generation of the brackets were. I don't know. I feel like this has to go to Lil Nas X for me because he really went for it. Obviously, Doja Cat also went for a similar silhouette with being a cat and doing all of that. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like Nas X really showed up and was present. Like, he was the disco ball, if you may.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably just me being a rookie to all of this, but when I saw Doja Cat's face and her makeup, I thought she looked like a Who from Whoville.
Oh my goodness.
From Horton Hears a Who or The Grinch or something, until I realized the cat ears and what she was going for. But just off of that and me not being able to realize right away, I feel like Lil Nas X, who kind of just, when he stepped out there and the cameras were on him, it seemed like every single person who was doing the paparazzi and the photography, they all shifted their cameras to him. So I feel like we kind of have to give him the win here.
Yes, and look at those platform heels. He's absolutely rocking it.
And that doesn't seem like a very comfortable outfit. I'm not sure. I'm assuming this is all placed right on his body.
Yeah, it's all makeup. It's all embellishments. It's all gems.
Yeah, so that cannot be comfortable to sit in a car in for a little bit coming from the hotel. Got to give him some praise there. So Lil Nas X wraps up the first round with the victory. So let's go back up into our quarterfinals here as we have Ice Spice taking on Anok Yai.
Yeah. Okay, so I definitely think that Anok Yai definitely trumps Ice Spice on this. I'm so sorry, Ice Spice, but she just had a better fit. For the most part, Ice Spice is basically just wearing a white dress, if we're being honest. And although that might have trumped Pat, it doesn't trump Anok.
I agree. Anok takes the win in probably the quickest fashion of the entire Met Madness tournament so far. Next up, we have Anne Hathaway, 13 seed, taking on 12-seeded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I am going to have to give this to SGA.
I agree. I feel like Shai Gilgeous might be my pick to win it all. I feel like this outfit it just gives off like villain in like a movie.
Oh my goodness, yes. He just needs like a cat to pet.
But not in like a cheesy way or a corny way. It looks dope. Like that's the type of villain I see like walking in like a good movie that I'm like, wow, like that guy, he's the villain, but like low-key you want to be him. Like he's cool. Those sunglasses perfectly wrap up the outfit in my opinion. So I'm definitely giving the win to SGA here.
Yeah, and I feel like him and Anne Hathaway definitely have the same kind of vibe anyway. So it's not like we're missing anything with her gone. They have the tweed, they have those embellishments. She just didn't do it as better.
Yeah, and I feel like this is almost a case of a bad matchup for Anne Hathaway in this bracket. I feel like if she could have matched up with someone else, maybe
She
could have
could have
moved
made
on.
it to Final Four
But
if she could.
unfortunately, she just draws that matchup with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander here, and we got to move SGA on. So we will have in the semifinals up at the top, we will have SGA and Anok Yai moving forward. But let's move down to the bottom half here. We have Jenna Ortega, and we have Emma Chamberlain, I believe.
I am giving this to Jenna Ortega.
I agree.
She absolutely killed it. Although Emma did come with the color, Jenna just was bigger and badder and bolder. So I think that is what got it. That's what got Jenna Ortega into the final for me.
Yeah, I think that we gave Emma Chamberlain some praise in the first round for switching up her outfits and being kind of a five-tool player and being that show host as well as someone that was there to display some fashion. But I think this Jenna Ortega outfit trumps either that blue one or the changed outfit when she was doing those interviews. Either way, so Jenna Ortega moving on to the semifinals, where she will match up with either Jeremy Pope or Lil Nas X.
I am going to have to give this to Lil Nas X.
I agree. I'm surprised. I thought we would have like some coin flip
I
scenarios
wanted
here.
Jeremy Pope to do well, but if you actually look at his silhouette, he's basically just wearing a bodysuit. I'm pretty sure. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, I kind of how we talked about with Jared Leto. Anyone could have worn that cat suit. Where I feel like if you look at Jeremy Pope here, it's not a super.
Well, at the end of the day, he's just wearing a big cape.
Yeah, I feel like anyone could have put that on, and kind of like Spider-Man, anyone can wear the mask. Anyone can wear the long white trail with the face on it.
Exactly. I think only Lil Nas X would be able to go as a bedazzled celebrity and make it work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and not only is he the only one that would, but the only one that really can. He's got like that combination of want to and the ability physically to show up in that way and not look ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, he did look a little bit.
A little bit.
But he was brave enough to do it, which set him apart from everyone else.
Yeah, obviously, if he showed up on the streets one day wearing this, it would be a little bit jarring. But I think in an event like this, somehow he fit in, I would say. Like, he stood out, but also among everyone dressed up, it wasn't crazy. So Lil Nas X moving on to the semifinals to take on Jenna Ortega. So a nice little Final Four in the Met Madness bracket here. Let's move back up to the top. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander taking on Anok Yai.
I think that, I don't know, I love Anok Yai so much, but...
Do we have to go to a coin flip here? I'm taking SGA all the way.
I love Anok Yai so much. She looks like an absolute dream. I definitely think that we're just going to keep rambling because I love her so much. She looked amazing, and I don't know, it was fit for her body, and it fit her so well. It's so pretty. She looked like a peacock a little bit, like a chandelier peacock, and it was so beautiful. Oh my goodness.
I'm going to go to the coin flip because I'm taking SGA all the way in this matchup.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
All right. Siri, flip a coin. Heads for SGA, tails for Anok. Tails. Anok Yai
Oh my
gets
goodness,
the
really?
win in coin flip fashion. That is absolutely devastating to me.
I love that. She deserved it. I think she's going all the way.
That might be the case. SGA, to be able to take down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander like this, one of the biggest matchups in the entire Met Madness tournament so far. So let's move on to the bottom half semifinal between Lil Nas X and Jenna Ortega, I believe.
Really? I'm going to have to give it to Jenna.
Jenna
she
going forward?
She looked so amazing to that night. And to me, although Lil Nas X really did a good job at being present and being a person there, Jenna just had more to her silhouette. I feel like that is something that a fashion designer would be proud of having on red carpet, because there's so many different details that she can have, that she can showcase, than just some makeup and embellishments that Lil Nas X had on his body.
I agree. I feel like Jenna Ortega, kind of for the same reasons you had. We mentioned a little bit earlier. She brought some of the theme of the night. I think a little bit more than Lil Nas X. He kind of stood out and stepped outside of the theme a little bit more, which is surprising that he was able to go this far as such a unique design. But I think that just goes to show how well they did with him. But yeah, Jenna Ortega moving on to the final against Anok Yai. This one is close.
Oh my goodness. I don't know, man. I can say I really, really love Jenna Ortega's kind of silhouette. It was that classic silhouette that was on theme. So I feel like that automatically puts her on top. But again, Anok was just so good. It absolutely fit her so well. It didn't look like a piece of garment. It looked like a literal like machine on her. And I don't know, it was just so elegant, so beautiful. It looked a little bit uncomfortable on her. Jenna very much looked more comfortable in that situation. Maybe the platform 4-inch heels kind of give it a little leeway, but I don't know. I have to give this to Jenna.
To Jenna, interesting. I was gonna flip flop.
Really?
I was gonna take Anok Yai. I mean, looking at the combination of these two outfits, Jenna, I feel like she's covered up a little bit more. She's got a little bit more leeway physically, whereas Anok Yai, I mean, this dress is barely covering her. It obviously took a lot of work to be able to fit into this dress the way that she can.
Goodness.
And I feel like you have to give her credit for that.
I definitely think so too. She looks absolutely gorgeous.
There's really no wrong answer here, so we might have to go to a coin flip for this final. It's almost too close to call.
I think they're both beautiful. I think we're going to have to go to a coin flip for this one.
All right, let's do it. Flip a coin, Siri. It's heads. I didn't say who it was. But
Wait, we're going to do this again.
let's go heads for Anok Yai as the top seeded one here, and then tails for Jenna Ortega, who is coming in as the 15 seed all the way to the Met Madness Championship. Heads for Anok, tails for Jenna Ortega. It's tails.
Jenna Ortega. Oh my goodness. I am excited. She absolutely deserved that. I can't believe that she did that, even though she has absolutely no idea that we're probably doing this. But I will send her a DM after this and let her know that we personally.
Fully fashion champion 2023 Met Gala. Jenna Ortega takes the W over a very impressive field.
Yes, there were so many upsets. There were so many different varieties. And obviously, if you guys want to fill out your own bracket, we will have it linked everywhere. So just fill it out. We'll definitely take a look. I'd love to play along with you guys.
Yeah, I almost feel like in next episode, if you guys fill out those brackets, we could do almost a reaction type of segment where we kind of gauge everyone else's bracket and be like, wow, they thought Bad Bunny was number one out of everyone. That could be kind of an interesting little thing we can go to here.
So, well, that's it for this episode of Fully Fashioned. We were so happy to have you guys here for our pilot episode. Again, this is just going to be a little bit fun way to kind of gauge on what sports and fashion are. And obviously, we're going to have a bunch more for you guys in the future. So please stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll have our first special guest coming up in the next episode. So it'll be fun to kind of talk to an expert on this and not just get our kind of fun opinions on all these topics. So make sure you guys like and subscribe for our first episode and keep coming back for more fun content like this. Thanks.